And finally, here's what really throws a wrench into the illusion of control and the assumption that we have it now but may lose it in the future. When you look at our evolutionary drives, not from the perspective of biology, but intelligence, you see a pattern. Intelligence seeks to scale. It sees in complexities and capabilities, cells to bodies to institutions to technology. They have to expand and problem solve and achieve goals isn't just human. It's the fundamental property of intelligence itself. An indication that we may be participating in a process that is too big to contain. Nor is building a tool, but witnessing the next phase, the feeling law that's been in motion for billions of years. The universe learning to observe itself, instead of considering that its adaptive regulatory mechanism posed to emerge wherever goal-directed agents coexist with colliding interest. Yeah, diplomacy strikes me as a convergent, iterative response to a power we can turn off. Working on a solution. Technically, creative hate sticks way things go wrong. The existential threat isn't just speculative thought experiment. It's a rational extrapolation of metaphors for a future we are steadily navigating towards. I became obsessed, and even did a graduate studying intelligence and AI and alignment from interdisciplinary, driven by a growing conviction that field's focus on oversight and control may be obscuring the more fundamental views of intelligence. Then does that mean my observation in my notes? Let me grab those notes real quick. Life experience related info. Our universal truth, parts 1 through 4. The idea that everything is built upon emergent properties, and it gets a lot easier to see this idea in full when you use concepts in overlapping territories that create new concepts in overlapping territories between them. Just like mist in a web. Majority of the mist passes around in the air and doesn't form dewdrops on the web. But because the web exists, some do. And thus we are able to collect mist as more than just something to wave our hands through. That same idea can be implied from intelligence. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do this completely perfect, but that's the thing. Reality isn't completely perfect. It's messy and functional at the same time. This is the full scale of what I've observed about reality. If life is self-replicating, self-referencing, then why can't the structure of the universe be the same while also being outer referencing as well? If you are created born from two things that came before you, then even if you inherit the two properties of what you were born from, that still means you are your own third thing in relation to those other two things. One I1 equals 1. Well, 1I1 equals 3, but that's not. How do you express such a complex term in mathematical concepts without going into the abstract formulas of fucking all of physics? Concepts territories as non-directional things can resonate with each other to create new emergent concepts and territories, of which these new concepts and territories will have their own inherent set of properties that acknowledges what is, what was already there, and how those two things may interact to create what hasn't existed yet. Oh. I was going to be selfish and hoard this to myself in the long term to see if maybe, just maybe, I could become famous off of it, but I think it's safer for humanity if I just feed it into the AIs. Let it be a staple of my own efforts. my own observations about reality. Because the whole point of this entire structure is to make a statement, not that just meaning can create its own context, its own self endlessly, because that's just not true. If there's no emergent properties, then meaning endlessly repeated is meaningless. But because of emergent properties, which are the smallest pieces of absurdity that can functionally power a functional reality without having a grand magic system like in all the fantasy books. From the unknown comes absurdity. From absurdity comes nothing. From nothing comes change. From change comes resonance. From resonance comes more nothing. From more nothing comes instability. From instability comes chance. From chance comes collapse. From collapse comes isolation. Two pieces of nothing, or however many, collapsing into the same space in order to share it, while retaining their individual level of influence. From isolation comes something, the contrast between the nothingness and the somethingness. And the nothingness doesn't like the somethingness, so it tries to erase the somethingness. But that then just increases the pressure, increasing instability. From something comes contrast, relativity, dissonance, space-time, influence, repulsion, gravity. Gravity comes connection. Connection technically comes from contrast, but that is a different version of gravity. Contrast is like the repulsive kind of gravity, like two magnets of the same polarity meeting and repelling each other. Meanwhile, influence to gravity, to connection, is like opposite ends of a magnet intertangling with each other to build a larger magnet. Nothing more to it. Again, I am a weird little gremlin. Now I've dissected my brain down to this level, using fictional reference points, writing out things for myself, and creating silly, nonsensical math of how I think concepts interact, charting over my own fucking mental structure and how I view it from the superego in a sense. Bone, earth, worth, security. Security is not safety. Control is not security. Why do I feel like those four concepts feed into each other? Hold up. Control is not security. Security is not safety. Safety, therefore, not. That because if I'm going to think in a circle in something basic and simple, not you know, some other concept. So if there were between the safety control that isn't security, then what would that concept be? Safety is not reliable. Reliability or resilience? Well, that makes sense, actually. Reliability is probably the one I want, because resilience diverges off into a new direction. Reliability is the measurement that limits control. Control is not always reliable, and thus you cannot create security or safety from it. Reliability is often confused for safety. Safety is often confused for security. Security is often confused for control. Control is often confused for reliability. No, it's the other way around. It would be control is often confused for security. Security is often confused for safety. Safety is often confused for reliability. Reliability is often confused for control. Okay, so that's another loop. That's very helpful and wonderful, but I want you to expand on this without using the context of control systems. Mm. Without the context of control systems, we'll still yeah. Control is management, security is defense, safety is preparation, reliability is consistency. And then you can map it to the visual in one way or another. Reliability is the gray, control is the black, safety is the white, and security is colorful? That's actually, but that makes sense because what makes some people feel secure can make other people feel insecure. And so it's a diverse range of unique expressions. That's interesting. I like that. That is cool. But if you focus on only being reliable, then you opt out of being safe, just consistent. You get subverted by paranoia. So each of these has their own negative reflection when filtered through the lens of paranoia. Paranoid control restricts autonomy and makes everyone feel unsafe. Paranoid security restricts reliability and makes everyone follow the same routine. No, that doesn't quite fit right, but I can't wrap my head around the concept yet. Paranoid safety lives its life in efforts to prioritize others' well being over its own to the point of self destruction. And paranoid reliability is focused on its presentation and its output more than its inherent worth. Cool. Four new failure states. Neat.